What is a hero? A mythological figure, often of divine descent, endowed with great strength or ability? An illustrious warrior? No. It's a person admired for achievements and noble qualities, one who shows great courage. Welcome to the What's a Hero podcast, where we dive deep into what a hero is and what makes them that hero. I'm your host, Ken Frownfelter, and I'm going to be introducing you to some of the world's most likely and unlikely heroes. You may have never heard of them before, and they most likely have never met you. But they all have one thing in common. They are ready to do whatever it takes to help make you better, even if it means sacrificing everything for you. Let's get into it.
This is episode 78 of the What's a Hero podcast with me, Ken Frownfelter. Imagine you are shot down over enemy territory, captured and kept in the dark for 5.5 years as a prisoner of war. Visualize going that long without seeing a sunrise, sunset, or the stars at night. What would you do if you were locked behind concrete walls and steel bars, yearning for your freedom? Whereas you would experience long periods of reflection. Your physical body wouldn't be the only part of your imprisonment. Your mind would be in repression and in constant danger of adopting an unhealthy outlook. While all the accounts I have read regarding American POWs describe the horrors of confinement, most also address the resilient mindset necessarily developed to maintain a positive outlook in spite of circumstances. In this lifetime, you will undoubtedly never experience the ordeal of being a POW, but chances are you will experience the suppression that simply comes with the human experience. We survive by coping, thriving, and assuming a mindset that provides emotional balance. No one grows up in a perfect home with perfect parents, teachers, coaches, bosses, and friends. Along the way, we all become disappointed, disillusioned, or hurt in some way. The key is to gain strength in hardship and exploit it as a gift. Regrettably, though, even learning from our setbacks can trigger a downside by causing us to overcompensate. We all make choices that force us to change direction. One day you're driving down a 4-lane interstate with no traffic. The next, you're on a 2-lane road in bumper-to-bumper traffic during a blinding rainstorm. When you take wrong turns in life, you can't play the victim and relish in the role. You have to make a conscious effort to rewrite your story and steer yourself back on track, which takes discipline and courage. Laziness or miscalculation can have dire consequences on your home and work life. In the previous decades in American culture, an emphasis was placed on character, our kindness, gentleness, serving spirit, and concern for people here and around the world. These were non-negotiable for success in business and life. I feel we have changed. As the late Stephen Covey once stated, we now place a greater emphasis on what we produce externally versus who we are internally. When the emphasis is put on what we can produce externally, we become people manipulators, motivated by goals and objectives set by others instead of those rooted in the values of our character. To face the detours of life, get back to character, and develop mindset to live from the inside out. Be authentically successful by aligning your inner private life and outer public life with the same principles. Sadly, some of our nation's leaders and our most beloved professional athletes defend their inconsistent lifestyles by trying to convince us that what they do in their private lives should have no bearing on their performance at work or our perception of them. Don't buy into such hypocrisy. As you drive down the road and encounter unforeseen obstacles, turns, and even dead ends, remain true to your core, and you'll be better equipped to navigate such challenges. And this is the introduction in a book called Detour, Navigating Life's Turns, by best-selling author Steve Gilliland, who I had the pleasure of meeting several years ago. He's a great guy. His books are awesome. They're not long reads, but this book specifically, Detour, really has an idea of what it is that we go through and the things that we have to struggle through and how to kind of adjust our course and be flexible enough to say, hey, you know what? I need to, I guess, go back to the drawing board and try this again, or maybe I need to stop going on this path and maybe go on this other path to try to reach this goal. And today's guest has done just that. They are a guy who has done a lot of different things in their life to where they understand the struggle that life is and the belief that, hey, this is who I am and this is what I have to go through and I have to adjust. And while they go through that adjustment time, and while he was trying to struggle through those different things, he learned about himself. He saw who he was, and he realized that I need to adjust what I'm doing because I will be better equipped to be able to help other people in that. He was an entrepreneur in his 20s. He had joined the Navy at 29, was a Navy SEAL, hurt himself, and they told him that he would have to have a spinal fusion and would never run again. He said, I don't want to fuse my vertebrae and have it in a crooked position. So he walked away from the surgery and was forced out of the military in the process of doing so. He turned to chiropractic, acupuncture, stem cells, yoga, plant medicine, meditation, breathing exercises, and nutrition and superfoods. And he religiously begins his day by breathing exercises, followed by yoga, meditation, and Tai Chi. Cooks his own meals, which a lot of us don't do, which we can do. And gets a better nutrition, I guess, bottom line from that. And it helps reduce the inflammation that he has that still, I would assume, his back is debilitating him from. And so this approach came when he started looking into sleep and why he didn't believe pills were the answer. And the answer is healing. So after losing a friend to suicide, which he attributes to his sleep health affecting his mental health, and with his own sleep issues, he dedicated his life to study of sleep science in 2017. And his goal was to find ways to help people get better and sleep better and lead better lives. And he said, and he can proudly say, after several years, he's very understanding of the sleep science space, and which he has a documentary out in regards to. He puts God first in his life, and he is solid about who he is and where he goes with that. So without any further ado, I mean, I can keep going on this guy's education and his degrees and his passions for the things he likes to do, but I'd rather have him do that. So without further talk on my part, Mr. Robert Sweetman, how are you, sir? Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And I'm excellent.
Absolutely. I know you are a busy man. You have a ton going on. You are preparing for a major gathering tomorrow and this weekend and stuff like that. So I want to make sure that we honor your time frame. And
thank you.
So tell us about yourself. Who are you?
I am a kid from Kansas, grew up in the Carolinas, who always wanted to probably be more than maybe I deserved. Who knows? But I definitely had a fire inside of me. My whole life, I really liked the idea of entrepreneurship. I like the idea of the military. I've never wanted to just settle and be ordinary, to a fault probably at times. But that brought me into business in my 20s, into the Navy at 28. I went through BUDS at 29, became a Navy SEAL, got out 5 years ago, and the journey has been even more crazy since I've gotten out. And I'm really happy with where I'm at now. I never thought that I would be right here as the person that I am today. Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of proud of myself because I've been through some really deep, dark places, and I've been able to rise above that. We all have those challenges, but somehow I was able to pull myself out of it. and I'm in a good place today. So
that's cool. That's cool. So you said you grew up in the Carolinas and nowhere near where you live now, I'm assuming, right? And so if you're in the Carolinas and you said Kansas, what kind of kid were you when growing up? Were you get in trouble, play outside, get dirty, and figure things out as you went along, or were you pretty, structured and staying inside and watch TV all day? And
well, we actually grew up on welfare. We were out in Kansas and didn't have a ton of money, and that was just one period of time. Mm-hmm. But definitely a lot of outdoors, definitely a lot of running around, playing in the treehouse, chasing each other. I think I was probably always a little bit of a mischievous kid. Definitely like to have fun and play pranks and stuff like that. But I moved to the Carolinas from Kansas when I was 6, because I believe we had my 7th birthday there in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And that was a tough transition because I felt like I had lost my identity and mm-hmm. what I knew a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think that level of adversity that I was feeling and facing would echo multiple times throughout my life. I think it gave me the ability to move and be okay with moving to a new place and kind of starting over, which we've seen. I've done that several times in my life. I think a lot of people struggle with that and kind of, stay within 5 miles of where they were born kind of thing.
Yeah.
So whether that's good or bad, that combined with being very adventurous and thrill seeking and very much outgoing as a kid, mm-hmm. kind of set the stage for, who I would be leading into adulthood.
Did you play sports or anything like that in school, or were you not much for the extracurricular stuff? Or
I did play sports. So I was a wrestler. I ran cross country. I ran track. So I was a 3-letter athlete. Mm-hmm. And I, at the time, broke all the records in wrestling for my school. And then there's a kid a couple years ago that broke my record. So I called the health director and left a message. I couldn't get through, but I was just so proud of him.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a cool moment.
Yeah. And so that record held on for quite a while then. Your records held on for quite a while. Huh?
So I think maybe a decade or 15 years, somewhere in there.
Jeez, that's cool. And so when you get out of school, did you have an idea what you wanted to do? You said you were an entrepreneur in your 20s. So were you thinking that road as you were graduating? Were you saying, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to be
Yeah, I went to college and I dropped out. I just wanted to party. Yeah. I just wanted to hang out. I wasn't very good with school or sticking to the books. I went to a small school in Iowa, in Oskaloosa, Iowa, and I just wanted to have fun. I wasn't mature enough to focus. Yeah. And so I ended up dropping out, came back to the Carolinas, and at the time, it felt very much like a failure, right? I have to figure out my life again. But in reality, it was a huge learning point for me, and I don't regret anything, right? Because I've had a pretty incredible life. But, when I came back, I met with my cousin who had just gotten his insurance license. He did finish his double bachelor in psychology, sociology, mm-hmm. went into sales. Calls me and he says, "Hey, listen, you need to get your insurance license because, one of the main Medicare supplement insurance providers just went out of business. And it's the insurance commissioner's duty to protect those people." So, what he did was allowed all of those people who were getting their insurance dropped, to no fault of their own. Mm-hmm. He allowed them to have an open enrollment period. Right. So they can go sign up with another insurance of their choice and their health conditions are not held against them in the application approval process. which is a big deal when you're 65, 75.
Yeah, because everything's looked at. Yeah.
Everything. And no one has a squeaky, bill of health. Everybody's got this or that. So it's a big deal. But for us, the way that you get paid through insurance is through a commission. So you get a commission off the premium of the policy. And so that you don't get a paycheck. You don't get a salary. You get paid based on performance. So you walk these people through the application process. You make sure that they have the best foot forward. You get them the insurance, and then you manage that insurance policy. They call it pre-existing conditions, right? And that's a blocker for all senior citizens getting insurance. And insurance is one of the most important things that they have, not just for their health, but also for their financial plan, for their estate planning, for everything, because it can break you instantly. So with that, and one of the other things that we were doing was helping, because the pharmaceutical companies have everybody in this extremely strong grip hold where they have these medicines. Sometimes they're life-saving, and people are on these medicines for the rest of their life, heart medicines, cholesterol medicines, things like that. And so what we found was that the pharmaceutical companies were charging one price in the United States and another price in other countries. And so we would get the exact same medications from Canada shipped to their house through a Canada pharmacy. And we were saving these folks hundreds of dollars. And in the Carolinas, on a fixed income Social Security, these folks did not have excess money sitting around.
Right.
I mean, some did really well for themselves, but the average person had their house and Social Security every month, and that's it. I have actually encountered folks that were eating dog food because they had to pay for their prescriptions. So when I come in and I see $400 in prescriptions, and I can order them the exact same thing from the drug dealers, the pharmaceutical companies from Canada, and get it down to 175 for these life-saving medications, I'll do that in a heartbeat.
Right.
We also were able to save them money a lot of times on the premium that they were paying before they were dropped from their insurance. We got them with good companies like Mutual of Omaha, these solid companies. So with that, we were able to build a $13.1 million block of business, Senior Healthcare Solutions. And it was a truly profound experience for me, not only to help people, but to build this brokerage with my cousin.
Yeah.
I'd read books, and I dreamed about entrepreneurship and doing stuff like this. But at like 21, 22 years old, I'd never seen this type of success, right?
Right. Last thing you're thinking about. Yeah.
Last thing I'm thinking about. But it's not all rainbows and butterflies, because it was not 3 years into the brokerage, I was working with my cousin, that he was killed in a car accident.
Oh man.
And yeah, and he was really he was a little bit older than me. He was like 7 years older than me. So I was in my early 20s. He's like 30. And I mean, it's like I was kind of riding on his coattails, really. Yeah. I was under his wing. I would say that he was the majority of the success of the whole thing, right?
Right.
So I got to experience it. But once he died, not only was I heartbroken because we were very, very close, but I didn't know how to carry this company forward. I turned to alcohol. I turned to late nights. I started working at a bar. It wasn't until I kind of pulled myself out of it a little bit. I think I was experiencing some depression, some anxiety, that I was looking at myself like, what are you doing, man? Like, you can do so much more than what you're doing, and you're just drinking your sorrows away.
Right.
So I kind of transitioned. I was working at a nightclub, a Blue Martini. I was kind of a bouncer, but also a concierge. It was a nice place, so I dressed really nice and turned it into, well, let me build a promotions team for this venue, and let me start doing some alcohol sales outside of the normal, path of business. And so I built another business within there. I look back in my 20s and I just laugh about this stuff because, I would never do that today. But Suck and Blow it's a tube with Pepsi caps on the end, right? And you fill it with a Jello shot in the middle. And then we have a lovely, nice young lady come in and blow the Jello shot into your mouth, and you can taste her breath mint. It's a very intimate way to deliver a Jello shot in a nightclub. So we had a lot of fun with that. It's pretty successful, but heavily cash business. Yeah. So I wanted to do something a little bit more above board and more in alignment with the mission of the city, the city of Greenville. So it was on a bet. I bet Omar Naji, the owner of the nightclub, that I could start a food service business, because the last thing I did with AJ, my cousin, was we had a hot dog outside of a nightclub in Atlanta. Last time I saw him. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start a company called AJ's Hot Dogs, and I'm going to sell hot dogs outside of your nightclub, and then we'll see where it goes. He says, there's no way the city will let you do it. And it turns out that the city of Greenville would not let me do it, but they would let me open up like a Sabret's hot dog cart kind of thing downtown during the day. So I did. I opened up Greenville's first multi-site, kind of like in New York City where you got the hot dog carts. Right. But then I also stayed open at nighttime, and we did a ton of business. We had like 5 nightclubs. And during the day, we had multiple locations downtown. We're on the Welcome to Greenville commercial. And then we do stuff like BMW at the time was building their factory in Spartanburg. We did that for the construction workers. So we would show up on site and just serve hundreds and hundreds of hot dogs. So it was a riot. I mean, we had a lot of fun. It was interesting to figure out logistics, like how to, have trucks and carts and everything moving all the time. Right. Keeping in DHEC regulation for food service and kitchen was another interesting learning experience. But I found myself at this point where it's like, okay, I'm selling hot dogs, I'm doing it, but one day I want to have, kids. It's like, am I going to leave my son a food service business? Or, I felt like I was meant for a little bit more. Right, I was still, in the, late night party scene, kind of probably drinking too much. I'm like, I've got to get away from this. This is not a healthy lifestyle. It's just not good. Like, I want to change. Right. And so I thought, well, what is the greatest adventure that I can imagine? I got to get out of here. So I thought, well, I can join the military, or I can become a world traveler, a vagabond, right? But I didn't want to be a tourist as much as I wanted to serve my country. Yeah. And so I took a look at Marine Corps recon. My brother was a Marine. Joined the Marines, even though they were long before I ever decided to do this. And so I carried a little bit of envy and guilt there too. So I looked at Marine Corps recon, didn't have a successful experience with the Marine Corps, which is good. I'm super grateful, because I am less made out to be a grunt and more made out to do what I did. I went next door. I talked to the Navy. The recruiter laughed at me. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll give you a SEAL contract, sucker. Right. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You'll be in a boiler room if I have anything to say about it. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone did. Everyone did. We had a debt pool, 20 or 30 people coming and going as they processed into the military through MEPS in Fort Jackson. And they'll give anybody a SEAL contract all day. Right. $40,000 bonus, right? I'm here. I had 3 guys that in my clique that we all wanted to be SEALs. We all decided to be SEALs. I took my furniture. I had a 3,000 square foot house. I took my furniture. We moved it outside in the backyard. We doused it with gasoline. We burned everything. The house is completely empty. We turned it into a training facility. We had a 7-foot pole, 7-foot pipe with a 4-inch pipe at 7 feet, kind of welded together. So you have to keep the open hands to do a pull-up. We're doing pull-ups, and then you have to climb over it to get in the front door. It's just the rules. So you have to do that in and out. We did like 1,000 thousands, like 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, 200 pull-ups in sets of 120 respectively. And then we'd leave the window open. We'd like try to freeze ourselves out because we,
just everything to make yourself uncomfortable to get ready in your own idea. And this was just stuff that you thought up. It's not something you read or they told you or anything, right?
I should have read more. Doc Hooks, my dive motivator, he was a SEAL commander that got out, became a lawyer. He was local. So he was our dive motivator. And he said, read this book, read that book. I didn't read the books, man. Yeah. I should have. Yeah. I suffered because I didn't listen to him, but I'm just a cowboy and I just did it. None of my friends made it. No one that I ever encountered through the entire process made it. Until I got to basic training, I met a couple of guys there that ended up with a career in the SEAL teams. But when you look at it start to finish, all the people who qualify for that contract to the people who put a trident on their chest, it's like 1 in 1,000.
Really? Yeah.
Just buds alone cuts out 70% of the people. And you have to do a ton to show up day one on the doorstep of buds. A ton. There's a lot to get there. Yeah. Prepared to be years. There, years to get there. And then you start on day one and 70% of the people are gone. I can't even remember the names and the faces. It's all a blur. Partially because of sleep deprivation and torture, but partially because it's just so many people that they're there for a moment and then they're gone.
Right.
I look back at the photos and it's like the Twilight Zone, man. So
no, I understand that there's no they're not really able to determine what causes that attrition rate, because you'll have guys that are just total studs, you'll have guys that are super smart, they have the mindset or whatever, and then they get in there and they're quitting on day 3 or day 2 or whatever, or throughout the whole thing. But there's nobody's really able to pinpoint what is the thing that causes that attrition rate. Did you notice that?
We can pinpoint it right now, but it doesn't mean that we'll be able to determine the recruiting, right? Which is the target. They're always trying to control how many SEALs they have coming through the pipeline. You have to have a base level of physical fitness and, intelligence. I think 2/3 of the SEALs that graduate have college degrees already. Typically, they'd go a path of officer. In this case, there's a better chance of them getting through as an enlisted, and so they go that route. Okay, so that's just the baseline, right? You got to be able to do 100 push-ups in 2 minutes, 100 sit-ups in 2 minutes, all the basic stuff to get in. You have to be able to run. You have to be able to swim. Sometimes people can't do one or the other, right? Or they freak out in the water, right? So you have to be competent as a baseline. Then you have to get lucky, right? Because this training is so difficult that you can get injured very easily. And that's luck with injury through buds, and it's also luck with kind of timing and getting selected. And sometimes life just has other plans for you, and you get stuck in the process. So a little bit of luck. I've seen people break their legs, blow out their necks, hips, shoulders, everything. If that happens to you, that doesn't mean that you're a bad guy. It means that it's just not your time.
Right.
So with all of that said, of all of the people who come there, there's a ton of torture, man. There's a ton of torture. Like, you are subjected to hypothermia, salt and sand in the eyes constantly for months on end, lots and lots of mind games. And you have to willingly subject yourself to this. And the average person's mind is not hard like that, right?
Yeah.
So in order to be hard, either you show up hard because of adversity that you faced as a child or the life that you've lived. We see people that come from more humble beginnings do really well in tough programs like this. Whereas folks that have kind of been catered and pampered to, because, I was on track to be an Olympic wrestler. That was my dream. Mm-hmm. And I gave all that up. Wrestling was kind of dying out, to be honest, but I transitioned to jiu-jitsu. My coach says, "Oh, you're my prodigy. I love this." And I said, "Sorry, I'm leaving." So I gave up all of that. So I had a little bit of grit, right? You need some grit to make it through there. Yeah. But other people who had pampering and perhaps were on track to be a college level or an Olympic athlete, and they're training smart and they can do 50 pull-ups and they can run a 4.5 minute mile. They get out there and they realize that they're going to break you down and make you run through pain and suffering, not in a healthy way.
Right.
You're damaging your body. You're doing exactly the things that your coach recommended that you don't do. And then we're going to splash you in cold water and you're going to freeze your ass off. It's too much. It's too much. People ring that bell with the quickness, right? Wow.
Yeah.
So beyond all of that suffering, you have to have the grit to make it through the suffering. There's one factor that no one will ever be able to account for, is if all those, weighted percentages don't make it already impossible to force somebody into the program. Mm-hmm. There's one factor that no one can test for, that no one can know until you're in that situation. And that is, amidst all of the suffering, amidst all of the pain and challenge, when you find yourself at that breaking point, do you have the switch to flip? Mm-hmm. Which means when you flip that switch, you will dissociate from the physical pain and suffering of your body and be able to mentally persevere. And if you can flip that switch, which a lot of times, because of extreme adversity as a child, sometimes abuse, sometimes you see things and you have to, dissociate. You're hiding in the closet, like, who knows, right?
Right. Yeah. You have to be able to just separate what's going on with where your mind's at.
Yeah. You have to turn that on.
Yeah.
And if you have that switch, you can become a SEAL.
And there's just some
or other special forces
that don't have the switch or don't have the ability to flip it, right?
Yeah.
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 And so, and that's kind of where I was wondering is if how much grit, which is, everybody talks about grit and sometimes they use it as a tongue in cheek thing, but I think it's as real as integrity, or it's as real as fear, or whatever the case may be. I think grit is it's not just a term that good authors use in books and stuff like that. I think it's a real tangible asset. So,
yeah, let me give a shout out real quick. Hold on. So, Rhonda Vittere, who is one of my good friends, I'm flying to do the Cape Town, South Africa marathon with her this Tuesday. She wrote this book, Grit and Grind, and it is really just a great book about 10 principles for living an extraordinary life. And she is an extraordinary human being. But I found that appropriate to bring her up because we're talking about grit.
Yeah.
The things that she talks about in her book and other folks talk about in their books with grit is all applicable. This is a stick-to-itiveness. This is a will, a desire to continue despite the uncomfortableness and reality of things sometimes. Mm-hmm. You just got to want it, right? You got to want it more. The pleasure of achieving whatever goal that you have must be greater than the pain that you will endure to get there, right? Or at least your perception of those two. And you control those factors within your mind, just as we control our own suffering and joy.
Right.
And that could take a lifetime to figure out, but that grit sometimes is born in us, and sometimes we acquire it through experience in life. But it absolutely has to be a part of the process. I think really for any military career, but especially for special forces and these really difficult programs.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I'm in the middle of the book Grit by Angela Duckworth, and I don't know if you read it or not. It's absolutely fascinating, just the idea of that whole thing. So the fact that you're bringing it up, I'm like, yes, that's where I'm at. So That's cool. It's kind of cool how just things happen that way, where you're middle of a conversation, you're like, I'm supposed to be reading the book I'm reading right now, or whatever the case may be. So
I love that. Will you please send me a link to that when we finish our Zoom?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great book so far. So you are going through this at 29, and most guys that go through that are early 20s.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here, and you said guys that you were with, they didn't make it. And as you're going through that, where you're like, man, what am I doing at 29? What am I thinking?
Oh, yeah. All the time I was thinking that. Yeah. I mean, a lot of hydration, a lot of stretching, a lot more preparation for my body than the younger guys. But at the end of the day, man, there's no excuses, right?
Yeah.
Zero excuses, because I could be there sitting next to a guy that is less physically gifted than myself. Not saying that I'm superior in any way. I have my gifts and I have my shortfalls. Mm-hmm. But you look at a guy that isn't quite as fast as you, and that guy's going to make it. And it makes you wonder, it's like, I have to make the choice for me to make it, despite being 29, despite having Oscar slaughters, despite having injuries, despite having shortfalls, despite not being able to figure out how to navigate the ugly name, which is one of the obstacles on the obstacle course, despite not really knowing and being confident in swimming. Yeah. You just have to make the decision on your own. And once you make the decision, God willing, and given that you don't have injuries and that you're able to continue and that you're able to flip that switch, once you make that decision, it is yours, right? Yeah. I've seen guys that just no one in their wildest dreams expected to make it through, but they made it through because they truly, truly wanted it and they were meant to be there. And then I've seen, again, Olympic athletes who failed. Once they touch that cold water, man, it's like they say, everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the face.
Right.
Right.
Right. So you get through that and you knock it out of the park. Well, in the outside world, we would say, oh, man, this guy knocked it out. But I bet in your mind, you're like, man, I barely crossed that finish line. Whatever the case is, you get through it. Right? And I
did cross the finish line. I did finish successfully everything, but that doesn't mean that it was pretty. Sure. I was struggling all the time. Doing buddy carries where the person is laying down, hanging their arms around your neck. So you're in a bear crawl position with their arms leaning down your neck, dragging somebody up a berm through the sand is the most difficult exercise. And for some reason, my body cannot do it. I lost every single race doing that, and I just sucked. I don't know why I'm not designed to do that, but it ain't happening. There were other guys that were doing it. I'm like, it is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. He's got a 200-pound sack of muscle hanging on your neck. It just didn't work for me.
Right.
I experienced quadruple hernias in buds. I associate that with log PT. Mm-hmm. I recall being on the lie detector, which is a log, right? We have log PT in buds, but this log, somebody had chainsawed into 6 pieces for everybody in our boat crew, or 7 pieces, and then bolted a chain in between each one. So now you can't hide. It's the lie detector. You can't hide. You've got your segment of log, your little 80 pounds or however much that segment is, and you're doing lunges, and you can see very quickly who the weak link is. And we lost a lot of guys going through that. But I recall I just would never give up, and I kept pushing myself. And I remember I definitely ripped my my camis right down the crotch, but I also ripped my actual crotch. I had 4 sites where my innards were protruding. They went in and did, one patch, and the other 3 they were able to suture up. But I mean, you don't walk away from this without injuries. No one does. Mm-hmm. The younger guys definitely were able to recover faster. But this is gnarly training. They say it is the hardest military training in the world. Mm-hmm. And we had that one kid who died recently. God bless his soul and his family. He died from a lung infection that they weren't able to catch, asphyxiation. He wasn't able to get enough oxygen into his body following buds. And people want to come down on the process and comment on, do we really need this? Do we want this? And it's like, I don't know what to tell you guys. This is the hardest military training in the world. And what we're sending these guys out to do is not Boy Scout camp. We're not selling Girl Scout cookies, right?
Right. We're out there saving lives or changing cultures in a good way to help these people be able to live. We had all of our guys, they were over in, whether it was Iraq or Afghanistan for 20 years, and we were there, and these people were just decimated by insurgency and everything else, and these people weren't able to live and have a quality of life, and we've been able to offer that to them by the service and sacrifice that these guys have made. And so I agree with you. It's not Girl Scouts cookies. It's changing lives is what it's doing.
Yeah.
So you get through that, you get sent to your first team. And how long were you in the teams?
I was in 8 years, and you can kind of break up the career into 2-year segments. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how the cycle works in the teams. But I didn't arrive immediately. I had to go to language school. So I spent a year in Arabic, and I got a lot of other stuff done while I was there. So I think it was actually a little bit less than a year, but buds. So you have basic training, and then pre-buds, and then buds, which is 6 months, and then SQT, which is 7 months. So maybe 9 months of Arabic school, whatever it was about 2 years when I arrived at a team. Mm-hmm. I was at SEAL Team 7. I did my new guy pump, which is basically, okay, you're not a real SEAL. We're just going to treat you like garbage. You're going to get wet and sandy. And now the real suffering and pain, like you have actual team guys who just got back to deployment, you're with all the time, and every training trip you go on, there's no, you have a corpsman there, but there's no cadre and medical staff looking over you. Right. It's just fun fuck games is what they call them. And then my second platoon, I actually was allowed to be an actual team guy, right? Did a bunch of work downrange in Iraq. I was an intelligence specialist. I did human intelligence and signals intelligence, and did a lot of tag track locate. And then I got hurt in the process, hurt my back, and I went over to a training command and spent my last 2 years as an instructor. And I just couldn't recover from the back injury, and they ended up medically retiring me. So that was a depressing time for me.
Now, I remember reading your bio, and I kind of mentioned this at the beginning, they said, hey, we're gonna do surgery, and we're gonna fuse some spine and all that different stuff, and you refused that, correct?
That's correct. So the recommendation was to get a 3-level fusion, because I had one disc that was 50% over the disc below it. And so it would continue to degenerate and sever the spine at some point. I was already having, radiculopathy and sciatica and numbness in my legs and my feet and difficulty getting out of bed. I couldn't stand up straight. I'm always in pain. I definitely was not running and gunning with the young SEALs, right?
Right.
And it was a suffering period of my life. And they said, yeah, we want to either go in through your stomach or go in through your back, and we're going to put screws in your spine. We're going to put scaffolding around it. And I looked at the doctor because I come from a family of holistic sort of, remedies. And, we went to a chiropractor and a kinesiologist growing up. I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight, doctor. We're going to take the spine and we're going to put it back in place where it should be. And then we're going to freeze it in place so it doesn't slip back out. Right. And they're like, no, we don't do that. We're just going to freeze it in place. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me, and I'm not going to do that. I don't care what the side, what the consequences are. Right. So I left against medical advice. They med boarded me after that and processed me out of the Navy. Got an honorable discharge, and I went to Mexico and I got stem cells. I started working on my core strength because I'd gotten kind of lazy and like depressed about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Did yoga. and did a lot of other stuff that you wouldn't think would help, like mindfulness, meditation, breathing. But it took some time, but I was able to have pretty much a full recovery. And now I am so grateful that I've been given a second chance.
Yeah.
I'm doing every race, swim, whatever. I do a lot of races for charity, but I'm doing everything I can because I'm so grateful to kind of be able to go back out there and do stuff. But the medical advice would have put me into a very difficult position. I would not be able to do the things I can today. And at the time they said, "You're never going to run again." I said, "Okay, watch me."
Right.
But had they done that surgery, I'd be stiff as a board and probably frozen and stuck within that terrible space for all of time.
Yeah, they want you to you'll have to get a job as a, just a cubicle worker, and you need to be sitting down all the time and that sort of thing. You'd never be able to be active and live a life. So,
yeah.
So you said you did stem cells, you started doing all these different things to try to get yourself back to 100%. What were some of the things that you started, I would say maybe experimenting with, that you found that really worked for you? Because I know there's a whole list of things that are not, not medically okay, physical therapy and pills and blah, blah, blah. It's more, like you said, holistic. What are those things that you found worked for you?
I'm really happy that you asked me this question because I have a lot to say about it. Because I am a success story, not just musculoskeletally, but also from an endocrine perspective. They had me on testosterone replacement therapy. I was able to get off of that with natural health by changing my diet, exercise, and behaviors. We'll get to that later. In terms of the actual back, and perhaps I had a pars defect when I was younger. Who knows? But the little wings on the back of the vertebrae that keep everything connected were broken, and the disc was damaged, and the vertebrae was floating freely, and it was starting to degenerate and pull forward. Well, why don't we just move it back? Well, part of that is because I had injuries that caused muscle spasming within the hip flexors, right? So I've got the front quads, the hip flexors, the ITB, all these areas are super tight. And then I have all these muscles surrounding the hip that are super tight. I needed to stretch those muscles and get good muscle health in all of the muscles surrounding my lower back, both in flexibility and in strength, so that I could allow my body to get into a good structural position.
Right.
So that is not easy. That means changing behavior. That means being dedicated. That means stretching those extremely painful parts of your body that you don't want to touch, you don't want to address. That means rolfing. That means working through the muscle, doing everything that you can. And so, because chiropractic is great, to kind of fix the subluxation, but if you're not addressing the muscles and the overall strength and stability of the body, you're just going to continue to fall back into those subluxations or less than ideal musculoskeletal positions because the muscles are tight and they're pulling them in that direction.
Right. So it's a conscious effort of staying of what position you're going to be in, right?
Yes.
Every minute of the day.
Yes. So good posture, core exercises, like Pilates or whatever ab exercise you like, and then a ton of stretches. And I have a lot of thanks to give to Joe Hippensteel for his Ultimate Human Performance, his 24 ranges of motion with stretching. It changed my life. Similar to yoga, but more of a athlete, Viking style of stretching approach. He focuses on the range of motion. And he does have a website everybody can go check out, Ultimate Human Performance. But with that, if you are not hitting the range of motion within each of your positions, each of the 24 ranges of motion, then you have some work to do. And because talking to my dad yesterday, he says, I'm working on stretching, and I'm stretching every morning. I was like, okay, Dad, are you making progress? Because there's a range of motion. And once you hit that range of motion, you're good. But if you're not increasing your range of motion to the point where you have maximum movement for that specific joint, then you're not there yet, right? And so my goal in healing myself was to get there and all of my ranges of motion. And now here I am today. The only ones that I struggle with still are, I have a little bit of quadricep immobility. I'm like 10%, not quite there. And then my shoulders, maybe 20%. But all the other 24 ranges of motion, I've been able to go from, some of them were okay, but some of them were really bad, to a full range of motion. I'm one of the most flexible people in my jiu-jitsu class. And so I don't get injuries. I feel good. I move about easily, and I have no more back pain. No more.
And that's awesome. And that's not pills, and that's not surgeries, and it's not physical therapies, and it's all the stuff like that. Now, I mean, people might argue physical therapy is therapy that's physical, but
yeah, that's fine.
But you know what? It's not doctor Western medicine. You know, let's put you on a pill regimen, and you have to make sure you're doing a lot of rest and laying on the couch and blah blah blah. You're moving. You're letting your body physically heal the way it's supposed to physically heal.
That's right.
So that's awesome that you get into that. But that's not the only thing that you were starting to get into. Like you said, you were getting into yoga. You were getting into meditation, and this isn't something that you necessarily would think of a SEAL. You know, you're thinking of these knuckle draggers who are going forward with, a big old pig gun and wanting to just kick in doors and stuff like that. But like you said, most of them, 2/3 are college graduates. They're smart. They're doing all these things that, you have a mindset. You have grit. You have determination. You have all these different things. So you're going to find the easiest way, the best way to accomplish a goal. And in your case, it seems that you accomplished this by making yourself physically able to do it, but you also started, like you said, doing yoga and meditation. Is that right?
That's right.
And where did those come in at? Were you open to those before, or was it a thing that you were like, okay, I'll give it a shot, and then you found out that it really worked, or how did that?
I've always been open to these types of things, but I haven't been a good practitioner. Yeah. It's something that I'm not against, but I just haven't done it. And maybe I talk about it more than I actually do it and try it. Uh-huh. So actually doing it is very different than believing in it, right? So, and I've seen that with other people that I've taught now, is that, yeah, we know meditation's great. Yeah, we know it works. Okay. Mm-hmm. But then you actually do it and you get this response, right? Mm-hmm. So breathing is the easiest entry point into meditation and gaining control over your autonomic nervous system. Mm-hmm. That was the goal, because I was suffering with depression. I was suffering with post-traumatic stress. I was suffering with suicidal ideations, mm-hmm. A ton of different stuff. And we have a lot going on. We have physical pain. I had some mental pain. Mm-hmm. I had some personality confusion, leaving the teens, who I might be, can't be the person that I wanted to be in the past. And then also I found myself on a spiritual journey. So just to isolate my physical well-being, connecting that with the trauma that I experienced, breathing exercises were a profound exercise to bring into my practice, because I was able to shift from a high anxiety state into a calm state. As simple as that. Right. And it took, some time to really perfect the breathing. But these breathing exercises gave me the power to be able to shift from a high anxiety state to a completely relaxed state. So that's a great entry point for anybody who's wanting to explore breathing. Wim Hof has a bunch of free stuff online. Mm-hmm. I published a few recordings on Insight Timer. I'm by no means the professional at breathing, but I'm just giving it a shot. But then when we get into meditation, right, meditation is extremely powerful, because it's building a relationship with yourself, mm-hmm. and with your surroundings, a place where you can forget about the past, your memories, mm-hmm. traumas, good stuff, bad stuff, and forget about the anxiety of the future and what you might think will happen, which is really just a blender mix up of all of your memories, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. We think what might happen in the future, and for a moment, we're allowed to be present, absolutely present, so we can experience that breathing firsthand. I can hear the birds around me.
Yeah.
I can feel the cool breeze. And it took about a year of meditating every single day before I was able to change state. And what I mean by that is I had a shift within my consciousness. And depending on the definition of consciousness, we'll just use it loosely for here, but a shift within the consciousness where I was able to change my state and feel joy within myself. And from that moment forward, I never thought about drinking alcohol, smoking pot, doing drugs, hitting adrenaline, motorcycles, skydiving, any of those addictions that I felt drawn to in the past. I just simply never thought about it again because I gained the control within myself to change state whenever I want. And I found my own joy and bliss within myself.
That's awesome. And that is awesome. I know I've been doing martial arts a long time, and we call that mokso. And it's bringing your mind to present, bringing it right here, right now. And we do it every day before we start training. Just bring yourself right here. Put out the stuff from the day, the things you got to do afterwards. Don't worry about what you're going to have for dinner. Don't worry about the struggle you had with somebody, a disagreement, whatever. Put yourself right here, right now, and then you can focus on what you need to focus on. And I think that's a fantastic thing. And if I could only do that more, do it better, I would love to be able to do that. But I'm so, I have a lot of growth to do myself. So
we all do, don't we?
Yeah. Yep. So you get into that, you get into yoga, you're starting to be more limber as you're going through and you're figuring this whole thing out. And then you have a friend, I'm assuming it was a friend. My understanding is that they had a traumatic issue because of some sleep that they were not getting. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Ryan Larkin was suffering from blast exposure, traumatic brain injury, which we're all becoming more familiar with these days. Post-traumatic stress disorder, which a lot of us in this community like to talk about post-traumatic stress rather than it being a disorder, but it just means persisting more than 6 months. He needed more care than he got. He spiraled out of control and ended up taking his own life. And what I saw was extreme sleep deprivation. The question to myself, to the world was, did sleep have something to do with this? I thought it did, but does sleep impact mental health? And so that's when I went to graduate school and I started researching sleep science. And I wanted to build sleep technology because I wanted to make a tool, caveman, make tool. Right. I wanted to make a tool to fix this problem. Right. And so the first thing I did was I built a military sleep pod concept because I wanted people to be able to get protected sleep. But I ended up learning quite a bit about sleep, and I answered the question, and yes, sleep and mental health have a bidirectional relationship, which has only recently been understood better. And so the point is, sleep can, if you're not getting sleep, can absolutely impact your mental health, as well as you can go so far as to have suicidal ideations based on your mental health situation because you're not sleeping, you're not recovering, you're not able to be emotionally present, and you're always feeling like you're playing catch up. So I dedicated my life to the study of sleep, and that's been my focus for the last 5 years. I would call myself a sleep scientist. I do all things sleep. I build sleep technology. I am part of a nonprofit that does a 6-week sleep program for veterans and first responders. I do one-on-one sleep coaching with executives. And more recently, I've agreed to start doing some speaking roles on the topic of sleep.
And just how important that is that we're getting it. And what is your recommendation on the amount of hours of sleep a person should be getting? And should it be a solid amount, at one time, or is it able to be broken up in the 24-hour period? Or
it's tough to make a blanket statement. If we look at all of the sleep organizations out there, they will say 7 to 9 hours. But if you get to the level that I'm at and my counterparts are working at, we're working with folks who are on shift work, who sometimes have 48-hour shifts with firefighters, guys that have deployments. Mm-hmm. And we're playing in a space that's very much more than just a broad blanket statement. So when we say how much sleep do you get each night, well, I think what we're asking is how much time are we asleep? Mm-hmm. And that depends on every single person in their schedule, because we have firefighters that are working throughout the night, so they can't get sleep at nighttime. So we're targeting, one example of sleeping is Everyman, a polyphasic sleeping example, and in which we will get 4.5 hours of sleep at nighttime during our normal sleep period, and we'll get 2 20-minute naps throughout the day. Now that doesn't add up, right? That's 4.5 plus 20 plus 20. I mean, that's nothing. That's like less than 5 hours or just over 5 hours. Mm-hmm. So that technically would be sleep deprivation and would bring us into this state of, intoxication, of a lack of awareness. Right. But in actuality, that's a different measurement, right? We're looking at the recommendation of 7 to 9 hours of sleep. When we look at polyphasic sleeping, it doesn't follow the same rules, right? Because when we spread it out and we do a nap in the early morning or in the afternoon, however we have it spread out, we're able to get in some extremely restorative processes during that nap that look a little bit different than a normal 90-minute sleep cycle. Mm-hmm. During an 8-hour sleep period, you get like 5 or 6 sleep cycles, each being 90 minutes on average, as measured by an electroencephalogram, right? The mm-hmm. EEG. If we do 4.5 hours sleep at nighttime and we do 2 sleep periods, we are able to get enough sleep to get recovery, the recovery that we need. Mm-hmm. And is this recommended? No, it's not recommended for the average person. But if you're a firefighter and you have the choice of either not getting sleep at nighttime mm-hmm. or getting a polyphasic sleep cycle that gives you pretty much all the recovery that you need, that is the better choice. And that's the option that we're recommending, and it's working. Yeah. And people are getting the best sleep of their life.
And that's like 1, 2 days, 3 days at a time, but make sure some other time this week you want to sleep some good solid sleep. Is that correct?
We want to keep as much consistency within our sleep schedule as possible. Mm-hmm. And so for these guys, that's tough, because if we're going polyphasic, which is recommended for shift workers only, and then we're going back to home life, mm-hmm. right? And then we want to get a normal sleep period. Well, we're changing it. So we want to keep it somewhat similar. So if we can keep adequate sleep at nighttime while they're at home, and then maybe shorten it a little bit and take a nap during the day, mm-hmm. then that looks a little bit more like the sleep period that the polyphasic sleeping that they're experiencing at the firehouse, in this case. And so the more consistent with the timing of the nap, the timing that we go to bed, the timing that we wake up, the more consistent we can make it, the better our endocrine system can function. Each of our hormonal processes has a circadian rhythm. We want to keep all of those in synchronization as much as we can. And so the closer that it looks consistently throughout every single day, whether we're at work or we're at home, is better. Mm-hmm. And then getting adequate sleep, where we're giving ourselves enough time to go through those recovery processes, that's the goal.
That's cool. And does it have anything to do with your sleep cycles? If I guess on a regular scheduled person, sleep cycles, do they matter? Do little naps in the day matter? Do all that stuff help, or is it you should just focus on getting your solid night of sleep at night?
This model that I just described is extremely high level. Okay. This is extremely high-level sleep science, and we're only recommending this specifically for firefighters who are in this schedule, and they are awake all night and not getting enough sleep, which is a very much more dangerous situation. Right. I don't think that is a recommendation for the average person. Now, if somebody wants to nap, that's okay, but we have to realize that when you nap throughout the day, you're going to dump all of the adenosine buildup. That is your sleep pressure, mm-hmm. right? Adenosine is the byproduct of adenosine triphosphate, which is ATP. We all remember second grade science, the energy production process in our cells, ATP, yada, yada, yada. So the result of ATP being used for the energy process is adenosine individual phosphate, right? Adenosine by itself. And in the brain, we have receptors for that. Caffeine also interacts with those receptors. That's a whole nother topic. But that adenosine, as long as we're awake, we're building up this sleep pressure by adenosine building up. When we take a nap, we dump that. So it could make it very difficult to fall asleep at nighttime, causing further insomnia issues, right? So typically, if you're going to nap, we say that you should sleep a little bit less at nighttime so that you are, it's called a sleep restriction, but so that you're not oversleeping, because we see in people that exceed that 9 hours of sleep, we see increased rates of obesity, increased rates of hypertension and heart disease. Things that we see with people that are short sleeping, we also see on the other end of the bell curve when they're oversleeping, when they have too much sleep.
I see. So it's that it's that sweet spot. It's everything in moderation. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you kind of did this full circle, and now you go through all these different things. You figure out, you find out about yourself, and you kind of work to this point where now you're seeing what is going to help you be healthier, how you can share this information to be healthier and better for other people, and not so much better. It is good for your mind, but you're not telling people you need to change the way you think or whatever. Just, hey, try these things, and you'll start thinking differently as it is. What other stuff are you doing? What other things are you doing to help other people kind of guide them into a world of self-care and self-health, where they are naturally becoming the better person that we all could use to be?
So, as I understand the question, you're asking what are some other things that people can do to just be healthy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I eat a plant-based diet. I don't think that that's for everybody. You know, I have people on the carnivore diet, friends that are Ayurvedic or vegan or vegetarian. I don't subscribe to any title. I just like to eat plant-based because my cholesterol, my metabolism, everything just works better with that. So that's just a personal choice. But above all, we have to get away from processed food, right? We have to get away from chemicals and food additives in this corporate supply chain food machine that they have that's making the majority of Americans fat, right? I think, what are we, like 30% obese and like 60% overweight? It's sad. And I have to say, it's the food, right? It's obvious, right? It's the food, and it's the exercise, the way we take care of ourselves. So we know now more about gut biome than we've ever known. The vagus nerve between the stomach and the brain. We used to think that the brain did all of the controls of all of the hormone production and everything, but now we know that the stomach is communicating much more than we ever knew before, and potentially more than the brain in certain situations. And that gut communication, they call the gut the second brain. That gut communication is heavily dependent on gut biome. So the gut biome is the bacteria and the materials and the microbiome that exists within your stomach. And if you're hammering your stomach with alcohol, that's bad. Or with fast food, that's bad. Or with anything that has preservatives and chemicals and all this stuff that you can't read, that's not good. Your stomach is not able to function in the way that it's designed to. So when I switch to a plant-based diet, which I'm not against meat, I'll eat ethically derived meat. But when I grab these foods from my garden out here, or at Sprouts or at Whole Foods or wherever I try to get the best organic stuff, and I chop up those vegetables and I use my, avocado oil or my coconut oil, and I cook that up and I eat it, I feel amazing. And the long-term effects of eating like this has been extremely sharp neurological performance, right? Sleep is definitely a big part of that, but also nutrition. Like everything that I've done, they need to do a study, right? It's hard to pull effects out of all of these beautiful things that I'm doing now. But I couldn't remember people's names when I got out of the military. I was struggling with my anger, with my memory, with just everything. Just the brain fog, my lizard brain. And now, through good sleep, good nutrition, good exercise every day, I can carry on dozens of conversations and remember everything with extreme accuracy. And I'm able to perform as a leader and manage more things more effectively with less effort and less stress. I mean, it's like a complete turnaround.
Right.
And a lot of that absolutely has to do with nutrition. That's
cool to look at it like that, because I recently heard an interview where a guy was talking about he said, think about the amount of hormones are pumping into food nowadays and everything else, and you're starting to see younger kids who are 11, 12 years old, and they're already they're maturing physically. You see girls who are shapely at 11 or 12 years old, and you're like, what the heck? You see guys that are getting muscular and growing facial hair at 11, 12 years old, and they're tall and all this different stuff because they're pumping these hormones into them. More so the girls than the guys, because more of that hormones that they're pumping in are estrogen and things like that. You're not getting a lot of testosterone in there. But instead of letting nature take the course that it needs to take and letting these kids grow naturally and enjoy their childhood, instead now they're having to walk around like adults, and you have a lot more garbage that comes along with that, whether it's predators or you have just confusion on what they're doing and all that different stuff and how their body is doing what they're doing because of these hormones that they're pumping into food and the nutrients that are not in the food that it used to be, because of the way that the soil is just the food is continuously grown on such a grand scale.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with that 100%. My problem is my weak will, and I see a hamburger that I can't help it.
Okay. You have to live your life.
Yeah. So, but it's all worth, the more I get introduced to this sort of topic, the more I just look at it like, I'd like to maybe give that a shot and take a look at, adjusting the way that I either think or I look at food or I look at nutrition and things like that. As much as you try to eat right, time or weak will or whatever might come in and say, hey, we need you to just put something in your face really quick so you can get back out there. And that's kind of a difficult thing sometimes.
It is. It is.
So you're also, in addition to all that other stuff, you are doing jujitsu, and that's almost a daily practice for you?
It is. I took a knee for a while with my back, but I was a wrestler for maybe 12 years, and I've been involved in jiu-jitsu for maybe 13 years since then. And so I have a couple years that I had some downtime, but I'm very passionate about jiu-jitsu. I'm back in the game. I was able to compete in the Masters World Championship a month ago in Vegas, and I didn't do that great, but for the first time in 7 years, I was back on the mat, and that was a beautiful thing. Right. I'm so grateful. There I was, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to do better. I wished I'd, done that move and all that stuff, but who cares, man? I'm the man in the arena. I was out there doing it, and that was a distant dream years ago.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
And like you said, you got to live your life, and that's your journey that you wanted to do. And I think if you can answer your why and chase something because your why has said it, more power to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so you're making sure your kids are getting into it, making sure that's happening.
I brought my daughter into it, who is 13 and a product of our lovely society these days. I brought her in, and she did it for like 6 months, and then she's just like, she won a tournament at Alliance MMA, but she's just like, Daddy, I'm not into this. She's more into soccer, which is fine.
Yeah.
Her mom loves soccer too, played soccer. Right. But my boy, I had a boy, he's 3.5 now. He is definitely going to be an athlete.
He's rolling all around, is he?
Oh my gosh. He jumps off the top ropes anywhere he's at, smashing people. He picked up his 13-year-old sister. I really, really hope that he takes to jiu-jitsu because I love it so much. But it is his journey. It's his path. Whatever he chooses, I'm supportive of. Yeah. But boy, he would be nasty on the mat.
Yeah, that's cool. That's super cool. And so you have, we talked about this earlier, and you're talking to us from you're in a camper, and you were telling me how and where that is and what is going on this weekend, that you have a big thing that's along the lines of what we've been talking about.
I live on my camper on a farm, a sustainable organic farm with Guardian Grange. It's www.guardiangrange.org. This is a veteran regenerative network, meaning we're doing permaculture, we're doing sustainable organic farming. And this site in Escondido, California, we call it a microgrange. And it's small, it's 2 acres, maybe only an acre of it is usable for farming. But this is a centrally located spot where we can get a bunch of veterans that we know out here to kind of talk about the mission and what we're doing. The founder, Mark, lives up in Ojai, California. He also has a farm. And so as we grow this farm that I'm at now, we hope to expand and build other farms. And we want to have a sustainable lifestyle for veterans, not only for food production, in that, scenario where food shortages could happen. But also this is a very healing place to be. We have fellowship and community. And I think there's an article that just came out talking about how gardening is more effective than any antidepressant or SSRI. We know that's true, but it's good to find that the academics are publishing about it. So you get out here in the sun, get your hands dirty, and see the fruits of your labor right in front of you. And maybe you're out with other veterans. It's a beautiful thing. And so it's an incredible movement. Tomorrow we have the Calm Down Bra event, which is a private event, but it's veterans only. We have 48 seats. We're bringing in Pacific College to administer acupuncture and massage in nature. It's a beautiful thing. Veteran Yoga Project is coming out to do yoga classes with all the veterans. We have 4 groups of 12, and we're going to rotate them through 4 stations. We have lunch catered. We have hiking trail and ice bath. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah. Are you going to do this again next year?
This is the second one we've done this year, and Pacific College has agreed to 4 per year. I'm not sure if I'm ready to manage 4 per year. It's an all-voluntary event, zero cost to the veteran, but I'm considering it. It just depends on bandwidth because I currently support 5 different nonprofits, and it is quite a bit of time. So
yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of people that listen to this that would be happy to. I want to do that. So
right,
I get it. So that would be so cool. And so they just need to be looking at Guardian Grange, right? Or is there another?
They can sign up for Guardian Grange newsletter and become a part of the network now, and they'll be able to watch as the organization grows and when we host events. And there's a trend across the world to localize farming and take the control of food production back into our own hands. Corporate farming contributes to 50% of the, what we would call the impact on, climate change. I don't even like that term, but 50% of that negative effect is coming from commercial farming, as well as like deforestation and bringing cattle down into Brazil. And it's terrible. And we have less and less control over our food, as well as less and less control over the nutritional content of our food.
Right.
We know, for example, like just with sometimes I take bee pollen, right? Like the more local you grow and eat, the less issues you're going to have with allergies, and the more nutritional content you should be able to get, and the stronger immune system you should be able to have. So that's the way that we're supposed to eat. We're supposed to grow our food and eat it, hunt our food and eat it.
Yeah, where you're at.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
You're getting food or whatever from some other part of the country. And I've heard that same thing because where I live, there's just a ton of beekeepers and a lot of local honey. And they say, eat that local honey because that will stave off whatever like allergies you might have, and it will help heal you. Because we also have a lot of poison oak here, and so that's going to help your body be able to develop immunities to these things. Just eating that local honey alone makes the difference. So, but
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I can't thank you enough for coming on. I know you got a ton of stuff to do to prepare for tomorrow and whatnot. And, do you have, how can people get a hold of you or find out things about you? If they want to learn more about you, learn more about your organizations you work with, that sort of thing.
I think the easiest way is to just hit me up on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty open to communicating on LinkedIn, and it provides a little bit of a buffer for spammers and hecklers. But if somebody's legit, I'll immediately give them my phone number and email, and I'm happy to help anybody, especially folks in need. Mm-hmm. I focus on a nonprofit surrounding sleep, 62 Romeo, www.62romeo.org.
Say that again really quick. I had a little bit of a hiccup with the audio. So 62 Romeo, is that right?
Yes. Folks can find out more about the 62 Romeo Sleep Program at www.62romeo.org. That's 62romeo.org. That is a sleep program that is what we've seen is to be the most effective in the world. I don't say that lightly, but it's a 6-week program that is completely reshaping veteran and first responder sleep health with some of the toughest cases that people won't even touch. And it's free to veterans and first responders. We go out and we get funding and the zero cost for them. The program is super effective, super fun, no pills, no drugs, no surgery, just behavioral science, right? Then Guardian Grange, www.guardiangrange.org. That is the veteran-powered regenerative network or sustainable organic farming. We love that. I also support the Mission Within, which is missionwithin.org. They do plant-based retreats for healing. It's part of the psychedelic renaissance where, we partnered with Stanford. We're doing a study on the effects on PTSD and TBI and the impact that we can have with that. So I'm a supporter. Also, SEAL Future Foundation is one that I'm more involved with these days. SEAL Future Foundation is focused on SEALs. It's run by SEALs. So it is kind of specific, but I'm a huge supporter of them. And that's about all I want to put out on that. People can find me on LinkedIn, Robert Sweetman. I'll respond. Just send me a message on what you want to talk about and where you heard about me. And I'm happy to help out anyone, anywhere to the best of my ability.
Awesome, man. That is so great. It's awesome to get to meet you, and I'm glad Sarah kind of hooked us up and made sure that we were able to meet, and I think what you're doing is awesome.
Thanks, brother.
I can't say it enough. So, well, I'm going to let you get out of here. I know you got stuff to do, so you be safe out there, man, and you have just keep killing it. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, we will talk with you after later.
All right. Take care, Ken.
Uh-huh. And Robert Sweetman has left the building, so to speak. Man, that was some fantastic. I mean, there's no way that in regular conversation that's information that I would be able to get out of somebody. So I mean, that's super cool, unless they were trying to get me to sleep better or whatever. So, but yeah, check out his stuff. Go there, see what he's got. It's just some cool stuff, and a super cool guy. If you want to find out more about the What's a Hero podcast and stuff we do and the people that we get to talk to and blah, 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 you can find us on every social media platform. We're on the Instagram, we're on the Twitters, and we're on the Facebook, and you can find us there. I'm on LinkedIn. You can also find us on our website, thewhatsaheropodcast.buzzsprout.com, where we have every previous episode we've had on there. You can stream it from the website, or you can take it. It has links to your favorite podcast platform, and it has every one of them there. And everybody says, are you on Spotify? Are you on iTunes? Are you on? Yes, we're on all of those, guys. Go there, subscribe, download the episodes, have those with you while you're on the plane or in your car or whatever. You can listen to us while you're on your way down to Robert's farm, so you can get your acupuncture, and you can get your massage, one of those 4 times a year trips, or you can just have it with you while you're working out, while you're preparing to go to jujitsu, while you're making dinner, making your own dinner at your house because the food's better for you there. Nevertheless, you can download it from there, and you can have that to listen to, and it helps us. It'll help you. I think it's good all the way around. So I want to also thank all of our first responders and our firefighters, our EMTs, our police officers. You guys keep us safe, keep us living in the country that we're living in, and in the societies and the communities that we have. Without you, we would not be able to have those things. And everybody talks about, oh, we don't need police or defund and blah, blah, blah. That's bullcrap. We cannot sustain ourselves. We cannot police ourselves. Society would fall apart if it weren't for those people who are willing to step up and hold people accountable. They're not going to get everything, but they're going to keep it okay enough that you can still, your kids can be outside riding bikes, you can walk your dogs, you can have a business, you can raise your families, you can have barbecues, you can go to picnics, things like that. You can sleep soundly at night, knowing that there's other people out there willing to stand in front of those that do evil. So thank you guys so much, guys and girls, and thank you to our teachers and our nurses who work tirelessly for other people to make sure other people are safe and they understand what it is that it takes to be a contributing member of society. Thank you so much. And to our veterans, you guys give so much. You do so many things that keep our country what it is. And I know you're wondering, what is your leadership doing sometimes, or why are the people being the way they are, the citizens in which you are sacrificing for? And but you continue to do it day in and day out. And with that, you have our gratitude and our appreciation. So thank you so much to those guys. I do want to say that if you are looking to get into shape, trying to figure out how to do that, whatever that looks like for you, trying to figure out, well, what kind of food can I eat? Yes, I'm going to make my own food, I want to do that, but what can I do? All that sort of stuff. You can go to adoseofethos.com. From there, you'll get. They have meal plans. They have workout plans for guys who are specifically law enforcement, but anybody can do it. They have plans for preparing to go into the academy. They have plans for guys and girls who are already in the job, and they have just to be able to get back in shape, to be able to be a tactical athlete in which you are when you are a first responder. So get in that shape. Go to A Dose of Ethos, use the discount code What's a Hero, and you'll get 10% off. And it helps you, it helps them, it helps everybody. So use that code What's a Hero at checkout for your 10% discount when you go to doseofethos.com, and you get your program, you get your shirts, you get your hats, you get whatever it is they have there. You can get that discount. So for all these other things, make sure you also check out sealfuturefoundation.org, guardiangrange.org, 62romeo.org, and missionwithin.org. And all those guys, or all those organizations, will support Robert Sweetman and the things he's doing. And you might find something that will help you, such as 62 Romeo might help you with your sleep if that's what you're struggling with. Things like that. So nevertheless, check those out. And check out us on social media. And those of you that are listening, thank you so much for everything you do. Keep rocking it. Keep doing what you're doing. And hold out. Hold out. You're going through a tough time. Speak to somebody. Talk to somebody. Let that off your chest. Get it out there. Take care of yourself. And if you know of somebody that's struggling, help take care of them too. get with them, because you never know whose hero you are. So keep up the good work. And I just appreciate those of you guys that are sticking with me and listening in. And we couldn't do it without you. So for Robert Sweetman, I have been Ken Frownfelter. This has been the What's a Hero podcast. We are clear.